Hey guys, welcome to What the Tech, a behind the scenes look of what goes on at Stage West. Today we are going to be making a canvas that we usually paint a bunch of backdrops on and put them up in space. So what we have here is I've already made a typical frame that we put the muslin on in order to stretch the canvas. So what I've done here is made a scaled down version of a 4x8, and I've opted to use the Craig jig in order to make some pocket holes so it's a nice seamless finish. If you don't have a Craig jig, you can also make just triangular corners and staple them in, and it will pretty much do the same thing for you. I have a small piece of muslin here that we are going to cover this frame with. As you can see, it's about a few inches over on each edge, and that's going to give us enough to be able to pull it and stretch it into the back and staple it down. So you're going to want to center the frame on your piece of muslin. And so I typically start in the middle and work my way towards each edge. And for this side, we're just going to kind of fold it and staple it. For this, I just use a regular T50 stapler, and I staple about 3 inches apart. Okay, so what you're going to want to do here is go to the direct opposite side of where you started. And this is to ensure that it gets completely stretched perfectly without any wrinkles or any weird spots in the middle. And from here, I also work from the middle and go towards each edge. But as I do it, I will pull it taut and then hold it as I staple it. And again, going 3 inches apart. And just continuously pulling down the sides of the middle. Okay, and now I'm going to start on the ends. Again, starting in the middle and pulling it as you go. And here you just want to fold it over a little bit so the corners are a little bit more flat as around the edges. This really doesn't have to be perfect as it's the back side of the canvas and you're not really going to see it as much. And if you're hanging it up as a backdrop, it gets pulled off anyway. We're continuing on to the last edge, and you just continue to pull it as you go so you can see how it gets a little more taut as you pull it. And there you have your completely stretched canvas on frame. Okay, so now we're going to move on to giving it a nice base coat as a primer before we continue on to paint anything on top of it. So what I have here is my handy dandy paintbrush on a stick. It really saves your back as you're working on large stretch canvases, so you don't have to be crouched over the entire time while you're working on it. And it's just really just saves your back. Trust me, it'll change your life. And then as for the base coat, I have you can use pretty much any color you want. I choose white as a good base background color, and I mix 50% paint with 50% water. And what this does is the water helps shrink the canvas a little bit, so it really gives it a nice stretch and takes out all of these kind of wrinkles and creases in it. Just going to make sure that's mixed up really well before you start. And then you'll get your paintbrush, and there's no really technique you have to use for this part. It's pretty much just ensuring that the entire canvas is coated and ready to go. If you're doing this at home and you don't want any paint on the ground, please make sure you put down a tarp or something, or else, because this paint will bleed through the back of the muslin. And there you have it. You have a nice stretched and primed canvas ready for painting.